Let's cross to Goulburn now and catch up with the Federal Energy Minister, Angus Taylor. Thanks for joining us, Angus. It's a big win, isn't it, getting the Women's World Cup down to Australia and New Zealand?
It sure is. It's a fantastic win. I was actually with one of the new A-League teams yesterday, the Macarthur Football Club, the draws from my electorate, Chris, and they were optimistic that they might be able to win, but it was absolutely fantastic when we got that news. Disappointing about the Poms. They got their comeuppance. They didn't win. Their side didn't win, but it was just brilliant to see us get up. And I think there will be great sport. And this is good news, not just for soccer fans. It's good news for all sporting fans across Australia.
Yeah, great stuff. And there'll be lots of preparations to make sure we maximise the economic benefits as well. I want to get your thoughts also, Angus Taylor, on these raids today by the AFP or with ASIO's interest, SHAOQUETT MOSELMANE. I've shown just now some of the things he's said. You've been aware of this, the way he's been sort of an arch defender and spruiker for China. This is really alarming, isn't it, given what we saw with Sam Dastyari and given what we know about deliberate Chinese cyber attacks and other efforts to interfere in what goes on in this country?
Well, you're right, Chris, and espionage, foreign interference, they are serious threats to our sovereignty and our security, and that's why these really are top priority focuses for the government, for our national security. It's why we've made significant changes to the laws in recent times to strengthen our positions in this area. I mean, everyone should be aware there's no immediate threat to public safety from what we've seen today. And we're not going to comment on the operational matters given the circumstances, of course, but there's no question these are really top priority issues for the government. You also mentioned, cyber defence, and this is, of course, becoming increasingly important. As the former cybersecurity minister, it is so crucial now that we make sure that we are strong against any kind of foreign interference, and it's an absolutely top priority for the government.
Do you expect that this investigation stops at Mr MOSELMANE, or it could go more widely into the ALP and even across to other politicians?
Well, look, I'm not going to make any comments on operational matters. What I will say is, as I have said, foreign interference, espionage, they're very serious issues, and we're treating them as such as a government. We must, and will continue to. And, that's why we've made these significant reforms in recent times.
On your own side of Parliament, do we know all we need to know about Gladys Liu, or do we expect that she's going to still need to answer questions to perhaps the AFP or ASIO?
Well, I think Gladys Liu has answered questions. I mean, I think she's been very clear about that, and we've dealt with those issues. There's been lots of questions asked and she's dealt with those. But look, there's no taking away from the fact that this has got to be a focus and it will continue to be.
All right, let's get back to your portfolio then, the things you're directly responsible for and the climate and energy policy. Anthony Albanese's idea to have a bipartisan agreement on a mechanism, some sort of mechanism to manage energy investment and emissions reductions targets. Why is that not a good idea?
Well, first of all, I'd say I welcome the fact that they've embraced our technology strategy. That's good. I mean, humans have solved hard problems through using technology for a long, long time, Chris. That's how we make progress. So it's good to see Labor embracing that. Of course, what I think was really notable about the letter we received at about the same time as the media from Anthony Albanese from the Labor Party was that, first of all, it didn't make any mention of affordable, reliable energy, and that is a top priority for the government, and it must be coming out of COVID-19. But secondly, it failed to rule out that they would have a carbon tax. You talk about mechanisms, that's the obvious mechanism, either an explicit one or a sneaky one. I mean, there's lots of ways you can bring in a sneaky carbon tax. They didn't rule that out. At the press club afterwards, he didn't rule out having either an explicit or sneaky carbon tax. And of course, that's a prerequisite for us because our policy is technology, not taxes. And we'll see if Labor are really genuine about adopting that policy, aligning with that focus on affordable, reliable energy, on technology, not taxes, because they are not compromises we're prepared to make.
But are you saying you don't need any sort of a mechanism, be it a clean energy guarantee or more renewable energy targets You just need to push on with your own technology roadmap and make sure you meet whatever targets you set without any sort of structural mechanism?
Well, we don't need a mechanism that's going to raise the cost of energy. I mean, our whole focus hasn't been to try to raise the cost of traditional fuel sources or traditional technology, which would raise the cost of energy for all Australians. Our focus has always been on trying to reduce the cost of emerging technologies that might be able to help us to reduce emissions. And that's why the focus is on technology, not taxes. We have Climate Solutions Fund, which is all focused on making sure there's some incentive in place to bring forward activities and technologies, fuel sources that can bring down the cost of energy for Australians. But, you know, Chris, this has got to be, this is an absolutely central position for us. We've got to bring down the cost of energy. And, you know, as we look forward post-COVID, there's enormous opportunity for Australian manufacturing. We've seen gas prices coming down. We've seen electricity prices coming down, particularly wholesale prices, half of where they were. And we need to take advantage of this. We don't want to reverse that situation because Australian manufacturing, Australian jobs, Australian agriculture, Australian transport, all of those industries depend on having affordable, reliable energy.
Angus Taylor, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Chris.